Hello, everyone. I am pleased and extremely happy today to have this interview with Annie Mood, who healed herself from rheumatoid arthritis. Hello, Annie.
Hi, hello everyone.
And thank you for your participation. Thank you for your time and for your willingness to share your experience with how you healed your rheumatoid arthritis, what you went through, what advices you can give to all the listeners. Thank you so much. I will give you pass you the word now so you can tell us something about yourself, who you are, what are your dreams, and how did you navigate through life so far?
So yes, I am Annie Mood. I am a stress and well-being coach, and I have worked in a very stressful industry for 22 years. That was teaching, education. It's a very fast-paced industry, if anyone knows. And so I pretty much was in a lot of stress through my job. And then later found out that my child was diagnosed with autism, with a rare form of autism. So that brought upon a lot of stress because she needed a very specific way of very specific support. So really, my life, how I came to be, how I came to be a stress and well-being coach was going through the stress myself and coming out on the other side. Yeah.
Yes. It's so amazing when people help other people due to their experience in life, due to their knowledge, but mainly through what they went through. I think that emotional experience we all have brings a lot of knowledge, a lot of power, and resources to help other people to go on their route. And
Yeah.
as a background, as your education, could you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I find that this is interesting, fascinating, and very helpful for this conversation.
Yeah, so I started off as a classroom teacher, and I worked in schools all over. I live in the UK, so all over London. Uh, and I then transitioned after about 17 years of being in the classroom. I transitioned into special education needs. So my area of specialization was social, emotional, mental health. And I worked with children who were at the point of exclusion. So my job was to prevent the exclusions. And what that meant was I worked with the children on their social mental health and supported the school in providing the right kind of support for the children, training them, teaching them about, what is actually going on for that child. And then later, I started working with children with autism and supporting them from being excluded as well, supporting them in staying either in mainstream or specialist school. So I have had, apart from having my own stresses, I've also worked with schools. I've worked with children and organizations on managing stress. And I have to say, it has been an extremely fulfilling job. However, it was very stressful as well. But what that meant was now, as a coach, I have an abundance of knowledge. I have an abundance of experience to support, to continue supporting people.
And you wrote a book?
Yes, I did write a book. Oh, completely
Tell us
forgot
about it.
about that. Okay, so like I said, one of my areas of specialization was behavior management, or social emotional mental health. And so I always got there. I was always given classes that needed behavior support, that needed this turnaround. And one particular class that I had was, they were about 9 years old. Yeah, extremely challenging plenty of special needs within the classroom. And I just could not find a way. I didn't like the traditional reward and consequence behavior system, because I don't believe that behavior is coming from something called naughty. I believe it's coming from emotions, unresolved emotions. So I then found another way of supporting the children. And one of the things that I introduced to my class, and I was the first teacher in the world to do silent tapping, was tapping. And tapping is known as emotional freedom technique. And basically you just tap on various meridian points on your body, and it helps release negative emotions or unresolved emotions, or emotions that disturb our learning, that disturb our productivity, that just disturbs our communication, our decision making. It just supports us in actually living a happier life. So having taught the children how to do tapping, which was very simple, very, very simple, the class did so well that the coach at that time I was actually conversing with, we ended up writing a book together. And the book is called A New Approach for Calm Classrooms. It's called Do the Natilala with Silent Tapping. We called it Natilala because, one, it's playful for the children, and two, it's phases that we take the children throughout the process. So we tap, but also we teach them about noticing what's happening in their bodies and acknowledging themselves. And, so it's a very, I think it's a lovely tool for children to take away, because I know that even years later, children would see me on the street and say, "Miss, do you remember? Do you remember?" So I just know, that when you learn the techniques that I teach you, it's for life. And even if you don't remember it, there will come a point when you will. So we ended up writing a book.
Fantastic. Tapping, emotions, social behavior, this is all related to adults too, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I would highly recommend you books like that, and Annie's book in particular, because I read somewhere that we develop emotionally up to 12, 13 years old. And then majority of people do not develop emotionally more than that. That's why our behaviors and our actions very often are quick, one-sided, childish, unthought. And would you elaborate on that? Would you agree with that? Would you add something to it?
It is. I don't know about not emotionally developing after 13. However, I do understand that the teenage brain and the hormones from the teenage years can hinder that emotional understanding. But I think it is something that we all have to work on. Look, we haven't come from parents or an education system that considers emotional and mental health something of importance. So it's not something that we learn. So, in fact, it could be true. Honestly, I don't know, but it could be true, because when we do reach a stage where we are now adults, we are just automatically expected to know how to support our one, to notice what's happening in our body, to know that we are being triggered. We are automatically expected to keep ourselves calm. We're automatically expected to know how to support our own, or parent ourselves and support our own emotional needs. So it is something that we even as adults, we have to learn. And as much as I've done so many practices, I practice every day, I still have moments. I still have moments when I'm going to get, when I get upset, when I get angry. It's far and few between, but I'm less triggered. But I think if you are a human being, then you're a work in progress. That's all.
Absolutely, I agree. So we will be talking about emotions today as well as part of the healing. That's why I wanted us to talk a little bit more about that, just like an introduction, because the process of healing also involves emotions and dealing with them, our thoughts and dealing with them just as well. So Annie healed herself from rheumatoid arthritis, which is fantastic, wonderful, and most helpful for all of us who are communicating with her right now. Why? Because once you believe, once you see that somebody did it, it's so much easier to believe that it is possible and to apply it than to yourself. And here I'm gonna ask Annie to tell us, how did it all start? What was the environment in which the rheumatoid arthritis, she believes, started developing, appeared, or she has noticed in her life?
How it developed?
Yeah, how did it start? You probably know when, why. Why did that come to me?
I think part of it was having I wouldn't say I had a stressful childhood as such. I did grow up in apartheid, but it wasn't something that we were aware of at the time. Like, I grew up in apartheid until the age of 18. So my entire childhood is in apartheid. But at the time, we weren't always aware. But I know of one particular incident that happened, which may have started there. And that was when I was about 3 or 4 years old. There was rioting going on, and a neighbor came up to our house, was like banging on the door and saying, right, they're coming to take our house, and they're coming to take everything. We need to go onto the borderline and start and fight, right, and protect everything. And as a 4-year-old hearing that, that sent me into fear. And my mom even says up till this day, she thought she was going to lose me that day because I was shaking uncontrollably, and there was no way she could stop me from shaking. So what my parents did at that time was they put us in the car, and my brave parents took my brother and I to the border, and showed us that we were okay. But even seeing that we were okay, there was I think it was an army person or police, I'm not sure, where she got, we stopped at the garage, and just like, tell my children that everything's okay. But at the same time, we could see army trucks with their, cannons and everything all on the border. So for a 4-year-old, I think maybe, that was a bit too frightening, and nobody could control that. That was completely out of everyone's control. But the fact that I remember this one incident tells me how significant it is, and I think it then laid out the path for me and my body and my entire life, really, because now I live in the UK and I moved away from home, and but I used to have joint pains from time to time, but it only used to happen at times like when I was writing exams or anything that was a little bit that needed it was a bit stressful. But really, it showed itself. It really showed its head after I had my child, after I had my baby. I could not, like, I'd wake up in the morning and I'd feel very dizzy, and I was 27 years old. So there was no need for me to be unhealthy or suffer from anything at that point. I was still a young mom. And when I went to the doctor and was like, I feel dizzy when I wake up in the mornings. I have a lot of pain. My joints are constantly swollen. And they did a test, and that's when I found out that I had rheumatoid arthritis. So it was only at the age of 27 that I actually found out. But prior to that, I was actually experiencing joint pains. but didn't think anything of it. But at this point, it really flared up where I had to take notice. And so they put me on medication. And even though the medication was like half of a tablet, it was so strong that I could not get up. I had like severe headaches. I could not look at light. I had to be in a dark room. I couldn't look after my child. So I had to come off it. And then at that point, that's when I started to look further into what is rheumatoid arthritis. I started with health, like looking at food, and I cut out gluten, I cut out wheat, and it did help, but only to a certain point. And then I found that whenever there was something extremely stressful happening, then it will flare up again. So that's how I knew it was related to stress.
Yes. Okay. So the reason I ask this is every time when I deal with a person who has chronic condition, I always ask this question, because what happens is, to my knowledge, when people go in their childhood through this enormous stress, which you would no way to understand at that age, you only trap the emotion in your body. And we know that the emotions are those that cause hormonal changes in our body and a myriad of reactions into the physical part of our body. And then the body, I would use the word dysfunctional. It's a little bit strong, but the body doesn't function according to its optimum, and misses it, does not provide nutrients to all the tissues and things like that. So if this happens often, if every time when we are stressed, we go through that peak, because the body was conditioned while it was very young, that to stress like that, to feel like that, to go through this emotion and to change like that, every time when it's stressed for smaller things in life, those changes are there, they occur. That fear is extremely damaging. Usually it collects in the kidney, they say. There are different opinions on that, because the organs have little particles that can sense emotion, and they change according to how we feel, and they're able to change the entire body according to how they feel. So in a recap, and just to see the events, to lay the events in front of everybody, we had a stress, enormous stress in childhood, an emotion which was trapped in the body. And then while the individual went through stressful events, that emotion would pop up with the same strength. Never mind, the event is not as stressful, not even close to that emotion when the person was young. And then some life changes, like maybe a lifestyle, not for Annie in this particular case, but for many people, just add on it, accumulate. Other changes in life, like she had a baby. Obviously, her body changed. Her life entirely turned to another direction, another perspective. And all these stressors, never mind they are positive, they would affect the health of our tissue. So she got the rheumatoid arthritis. She got the pill. The pills have side effects, unfortunately, very, very often. And she wanted to get off the pill. She made lifestyle changes. They helped some, but because we are not only physical creatures, we are spiritual and mental creatures. We have to address the problem at every level of our whole constitution. So, Arnie, what else did you do at different level of the physical?
So I started to read about, I think the first book I ever read was, not the first book I ever read, but the first book I ever read about healing was Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And she very, intellectually links all the different ailments and pains that you could experience to an emotion. And so that's where I started. I started to look at, okay, what does this actually mean? What does rheumatoid arthritis mean? And it means, you're hurting yourself. It's unresolved anger, and you are trying to hurt yourself. So, it was a very, very, very deep dive into my life and many years of it. So that was one way I started. That was the first time I started to think about how my emotions could be affecting my body and unresolved emotions. So I have been to counseling, I've been to coaches, I have studied emotional freedom technique. I've studied, I'm now a heart math coach. So helping you to self-regulate, to regulate your emotions. And I've done, Reiki master, so I've gone through the Reiki healing as well. So I've done a lot of studying on healing. And to be honest, a lot of it was for myself. I wasn't thinking that one day that this is what I was going to be doing. But because I was studying for myself and then using it in my job, I realized how important and how useful these simple techniques become, and how we can all heal ourselves. We may not be able to heal to the extent that everything is completely gone, but at the same time we could. But it's about learning how to manage that stress. It's about learning how to manage, we talked about the emotions and learning your triggers, getting rid of the triggers, which we can do, learning about how to reparent yourself, to parent yourself. That's one of the things that we don't do. We over-criticize. We are not compassionate. We are, afraid to make mistakes. And so it's a big job. That's why I say it's a process. As long as you're a human being, you're a work in process or progress. And that's because there is so many things to look at. But I found that working with people, various people, I worked with lots of different people, and every person has helped me on my journey at a different point. I found that working with people really helped me to understand me.
Great. So these were key factors in your healing process. I mean, reading Louise Hay, then counseling, then the tapping, then the being a heart math coach. This is recent, actually, right? The heart math coach.
Yeah. So I started using it for myself during COVID, actually, and then I trained.
Yeah. Okay. So, and Reiki, of course. All these are key factors, but you went with all of them because you felt that you need each and every one of them, right?
I don't know if I felt I needed it. I was very curious. And that is one thing I would say to people: get curious. Curiosity doesn't kill the cat. Makes it better. No, but what I'm saying is, do get curious. I mean, a lot of people expect to go to one person, one doctor, and expect to feel all of the improvements. That person is only an expert or a specialist in their field. And we are multi-layered, like you said earlier, we're multi-layered. So when you get curious, you start to, you just accumulate all this knowledge, and all of it is then, it supports you, what you've been through, because 8 billion people on this planet, we all have a different story.
Yes.
Even twins will have different stories.
Yes.
Right. So when you're learning for you, you're learning about how it can help you, but you also pick up on how then, you'll notice how it's affecting other people. Others may say, hey, you're not getting as angry as you used to. You seem calmer. Okay. And that's when you start to, we cause this ripple effect, and we start to help each other out. I used to always, when I used to watch Miss World or Miss India or Miss, something like that. What is the one thing they always said they wanted? World peace, right? But world peace is not just going to happen. It has to start from us, within us. So when we start to heal ourselves, automatically we're going to have that ripple effect of world peace. That's just going to happen. Healed people don't want to hurt people.
Exactly. That's very well said. Back to the rheumatoid arthritis, do you find that there are, or can you address any specific emotional and psychological aspects of the feeling of rheumatoid arthritis? I'm asking this because not everyone who will be listening to this interview is going through rheumatoid arthritis. And I would like to see if I can make a parallel between different conditions. You mentioned before that you had inside of you like different feelings, like maybe anger or a fear or stuff like that. Do you find anything in particular when you bring yourself back to the time when you were dealing with this condition? Can you recall for any particular emotional and psychological states you got into?
I know the situations I was in.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So being in a stressful, and this one is quite important, and people have to really think about this, but being in a stressful relationship, because relationships are, it's your life. It is part of your life. We are not islands. We're social beings. So who you spend your time with, whether it's friends, whether it's family members, whether it's a spouse, all of this must be taken into consideration. Sometimes it is how you are in a relationship, what you have to do to keep yourself afloat in a relationship, to survive in a relationship, is what causes all of the stresses.
Yes.
So and what causes the flare-ups, right? Whether it's fibromyalgia, whether it's IBS, whatever it is, rheumatoid arthritis, it's all a flare-up. They all happen at stressful times. So the key factor there is stress. So you have to start looking at where you are in your life, and not to say that, hey, if you are in a stressful relationship, then I'm saying to you, leave your relationship. No, I'm saying you need to start thinking about how you can support yourself.
Yeah.
And if one of the ways is releasing a relationship, then that is one of the ways, right? But at the end of the day, I feel that for me, one of the most important things was I wanted to be the best parent for my child. That was just something that I really wanted. So it meant I had to look at everything in my life. I had to look at who was coming in, who was with me. And it all happened. I cannot say it happened quickly. Any decision that was made was not made lightly. Any decision took a lot of time. But it's when I left certain relationships, especially for me it was relationships, left certain relationships, I would find that the joint pains would just completely collapse. So, yeah.
So if I use your words, you taught yourself to notice what triggered emotions, what triggered your pain, and
I think the body does that for you. You
body.
don't have to worry about you have to look at what the triggers are and where they're coming from, what the source is. That's your job. But really the body will trigger. When you are triggered, the body will flare up and say, hey, look here, there's something not quite right. So our job is to then find the source of that problem and release it. It can be released. It may take years, it may be done, quickly in one go, but it's the source that's really causing the flare-ups.
Okay, so we talked about the beginning, we talked about the emotions, we talked about the physical parts, what was involved in your healing, all the different key points, like tapping, Reiki, Louise Hay, counseling, and others. What made you continue and not giving up? Because very often people get a little bit better and they go back to their old lifestyle. And then they say it doesn't work. So obviously, if you healed, you went all the way, you followed the path, but I know it wasn't easy. What do you remember? What kept you on the path of healing?
Yeah.
The dream, was it a goal? What was it?
It's your why. It was, why do you want to heal? Like in my coaching, that's the most important question. Why do you want to do this?
Exactly.
And for me, I wanted to I wanted to run around with my kid. I want to travel the world, right? So I want to see the world. So all of that means that I in order for me to travel the world, I need to heal myself. And funny enough, when I was a child, I was actually an athlete. So so I had to give up a lot because of the pain. I couldn't play tennis, I couldn't run, I couldn't play badminton, all the things that I really enjoyed. So I was giving up more because of something that had happened, rather than doing the things that I really want and living that future that I really wanted. Or even the present, let alone the future, but even the present. So for me, it was, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
What's my reasons? Yeah.
Okay. So my question was, how did you know that this was the path? How did you? You
Didn't
don't
know this was the path. I don't think anyone knows.
Okay. Tell us
You
about
just
it.
have to trust. Okay, the path will reveal itself. How do you know when to go to the next job? How do you know when to cut loose of a relationship? How do you know? You don't, right? You decide.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing. You must decide. Once you make the decision, then everything will fall into place. The universe is actually conspiring with you, right? The universe is always working for you. So you must trust. If you fall off the wagon, you get back on and you carry on trusting and you keep going. So it means building mental resilience, it means building that emotional resilience, and it means do not let anyone else talk you out of your goals, because they are not walking your path. So yeah, sorry. No, so yeah, that's how you know to keep going.
It's amazing that you're saying this, because this will give a lot of strength and courage to a lot of people, because many clients want to know, I meditate, but how do I know that I meditate? Well, I'm telling them, just keep going, keep doing what you're doing. Yeah, but how do I know if it's working?
No, you know if it's working by your outer experiences. Right? If your experiences are changing and you're having happier experiences and you're feeling happier and you're having happier communication or easier communication, then you know it's working, because we have to change our inner world first, and then it's projected onto our outer world. Like if you look in the mirror, you have, and you want to put, I don't know, you want to put lipstick on, you have to put it on yourself first. You can't put it on the mirror. Right? So the mirror is the outer world. It's projecting to us what's inside of us. So when you start to change, that's why I teach the children in Nati Lala, notice is the first thing. You notice what's happening on the inside, you notice what's happening on the outside, right? We become more conscious that way as well. So you are definitely, if you can feel more calm, in a certain situation, say you're triggered by, I don't know, speedy drivers, for example, and you're always like having a go at them or shouting or swearing or whatever when they go past you. And then suddenly you feel you're not doing that. You're not doing that. That means that something's changed inside of you. You're no longer triggered. That meditation you're doing every day for 5 minutes, 10 minutes is working.
Yeah, or tapping.
Or tapping.
Okay.
Tapping.
After the tapping, could you tell us, explain us, how does it work, the tapping?
Okay, so we are energy beings, right? We're energy. We're made up of energy. Even our atoms are made up of energy, which means, and even our emotions is energy, right? Energy in motion, energy constantly moving. That's what it is. But when we are stressed, when we are feeling any form of stress, then that energy is not flowing as freely as it can be, right? That means that there's blockages. Now, when there's blockages, we have a meridian system, right? That's how energy flows through our body, in, out, all around. And when there's blockages, then that energy is not moving freely around the body. And when we don't move freely around the body, then you feel pain, you feel flare up, you feel, like if you are angry, you would feel yourself you'd stop breathing, right? That's because why? That we get quite tense. So what EFT is, energy, emotional freedom technique, is really releasing the energy in the body. We tap on certain points and it releases that blockages. Even with Reiki, it releases the blockages. Yeah. And then energy is able to flow around the body easily. Now, it all sounds like, I don't know, woo-woo stuff, or it could sound that way. But when you actually experience it, that's when you're like, oh, okay, there's something to this. Yeah. So that's what, the meridian points are and the energy flow is.
Okay, this is very fascinating. And could you do one demonstration for us?
Yes, I could do a demonstration. Okay, what I would like, I'm going to use you as my guinea pig. I want you to think of a stressful situation recently. You don't need to say what the situation is. Just think about it. And if you could give it a score, right? 10 being the worst you felt, 1 being the best you feel, what would you rate it?
10.
10. If you were to give this situation a color, oh, bless you. Yeah, your body is agreeing with you. See? So we're saying it's a 10. If you were to give it a color, what color would you say it is?
Red.
If you were to give it a shape?
Cloud.
Okay. So because you're not telling me what the situation is, I'm not working directly with the situation, we're giving it representations instead. And that can happen in a coaching session. Okay. Right? So let's see how it works. Okay. So, and what emotion are we looking at here?
Fear.
Fear. Okay. So let's start with, we tap along the little finger, right? You see the blade of your palm. We tap in the middle of your palm. It's a gentle tap, doesn't have to be. And for anyone who's listening or watching, you're more than welcome to tap. You don't need to say the words. Yeah. Maria and I will say the words. You just need to tap in the background and you'll also feel the release for yourself. Okay. So even though, what I would like you to do, is repeat after me. Yeah. And I'll show you the tapping points as we go along. So even though I feel this fear of 10,
I feel this fear of 10,
I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though I have this cloud of fear, And I feel it in my...
And I feel it in my stomach.
I deeply and completely...
I deeply and completely...
love and accept myself.
Love and accept myself.
Even though...
Even though...
I have this fear of 10.
I have this fear of 10.
And it feels like the color red.
And it feels like the color red.
I deeply and completely...
I deeply and completely...
love and accept myself.
Love and accept myself.
Okay, we're now going to go to the corner of the eyebrow. I'm going to tap on 10.
Tap on 10, okay.
Side of the eye. I feel fear.
I feel fear.
Under the eye, I feel fear of 10.
I feel fear of 10.
Under the nose, it's the color red.
The color red.
Under the lip, it's like a cloud in my stomach.
It's like a cloud in my stomach.
On the collarbone.
On a collarbone.
I feel fear.
I feel fear.
Under the arm,
Under
I feel stressed.
I feel stressed.
Is that right? You feel stressed?
Yeah.
On the head, I'm tired of carrying this cloud around.
I'm tired of carrying this cloud around.
Corner of the eyebrow, I just want to get rid of this fear.
I just want to get rid of this fear.
Side of the eye, I don't even understand why I have to fear this.
I don't understand why I have to fear this.
It is a 10.
It is a 10.
It's red.
It's red.
It's like a cloud.
It's like a cloud.
In my stomach.
In my stomach.
It's time to let go of this fear.
Time to let go of this fear.
It's time to release this fear.
Time to release this fear.
Okay, let's take a nice deep breath in. And okay, so if you were to give it a number now from 10, what would you say?
6.
6. Why are you laughing?
Because it just came out without thinking.
Good. That's exactly what we want. We don't want the brain and the thinking to get to interfere.
Yeah.
Okay. What color would you say it is now?
Blue.
Do you think there's a reason why it's blue?
Yeah. Because of the sky, and the sky is the limit, and yeah.
Sky is the limit. Okay.
Yes.
Still feel it in your stomach?
Actually, no, it's a little bit higher.
Solar plexus?
Yeah.
So moved to solar plexus?
Yeah.
Okay, so I tried to use your words. I don't want it, but when I'm tapping, I kind of intuitively guess, or not guess, intuitively try and figure out what the words are going to be. Okay, so if it's, that's why sometimes I might like, where do you feel it? Sometimes it's best for you to use your words because it's your subconscious that we're tapping into now. We're getting rid of that.
Okay.
We're using energy psychology and we're getting rid of that fear. Would you still say it's fear, or has that changed?
No, it's not fear anymore. It's limitation.
Interesting. Okay, let's see if we can bring that number down.
Okay.
So even though I feel this limitation, and it's moved from fear to limitation, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though it's moved from a 10 to a 6, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Okay, let's move to the corner of the eyebrow. Sky is the limit.
Sky is the limit.
Blue.
Blue.
Side of the eye. Under the eye. 6.
6.
Under the lip. Moved to solar plexus.
Moved to solar plexus.
Moved from fear to limitation.
Moved from fear to limitation.
Emptied from my stomach.
Emptied from my stomach.
Released from my stomach.
Released from my stomach.
Moved to my solar plexus.
Moved to my solar plexus.
Blue.
Blue.
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
I let go of this limitation.
I let go of this limitation.
Limitations only hold me back.
Limitation only holds me back.
And I live in an abundant world.
I'm living in an abundance world.
And whatever I need to know will be revealed to me.
And whatever I need to know, it will be revealed to me.
I love myself.
I love myself.
I trust myself.
I trust myself.
Let's take a nice deep breath in. Let it go.
Okay.
What number would you give it?
With number 3. Yeah.
And is it still limitation?
Actually, no, it's nothing. I can't give it a name.
Fantastic. It's nothing. What about your solar plexus?
There's nothing. No. I don't
We'll
feel.
stop there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll stop there.
So for people who have a slower progression down, they would do it a few times until they get to 1, 2, or 0, or etc. Right? The whole circle of events.
Yes, it just depends. So sometimes, it is a long running problem or situation or emotion. So it needs it needs more work. It needs deeper work. Sometimes they can go from 10 to a lower number, but then the body needs to catch up. So it needs a bit of time before it gets to 0, which means they'll leave the session and it'll get to 0. So everybody works the way everybody works. And I think what people would be asking now is, okay, right, now that, it's all changed for you, it's gone from fear to limitation to nothing, they would now want to see how that fits into your life, and if it was them, how it fits into their life. Now, I can't say how it would fit because I'm just going off what you were saying to me, but you will be able to experience experience that release and what that release has done for you.
Okay. Wow. Amazing. So I would recommend to everyone to address to Annie if you would like help with your emotional healing. Annie is a well-being and stress and well-being coach. She has a Facebook group which is called Own Your Power Stress and Well-being Solutions. You can apply to go into the Facebook where she posts very interesting, helpful tips to help you. If you want to get in touch with her, we'll post a link below. Her name is Annie Mood. You can find her on the Messenger, right, Annie?
Yeah. I'm everywhere. You can find me on LinkedIn, find me on IG, Facebook, everywhere. Yeah.
She's also a certified coach with the Heart Institute, right?
HeartMath Institute.
HeartMath Institute. She's a Reiki specialist. She's an emotional freedom technique specialist. And she also is a behavior management specialist. She works with kids with autism. So there is a lot of knowledge and practice you can use from her, and to be able to help you in your healing path. It is very important to address your emotional and spiritual being, because the healing cannot occur 100% if you only focus on the physical part of it. And we understand that every person has a different pathway, as well as every chronic condition has a different pathway of developing. But this is our job as coaches, to find out the pathway and to work on it and to heal it. Annie, if you would like to add anything else.
Look, you're never failing at anything. You're just being redirected. Okay. So I would say pay attention. Don't ever feel like you've tried and you've tried and you've tried and you're still not getting anywhere. The fact that something is lessening, you know, like the pain is less, or the fact that relationships are changing, or that, you know, you are now in a better job, because jobs are the other thing that, you know, we must look at very carefully, like the environment we're in. The fact that your environment is changing, all of that means that you are healing, because like Maria said, we are multifaceted. We are, you know, so healing will take place at different levels at different times. And don't ever hate your body for warning you about something that you can't see, right? Pain is warning signals. It's there to tell you, look here, you know, there's something not quite right here. And if a doctor is unable to help you or give you an answer, then try elsewhere. Like I said, you know, people are experts in their own field, but that doesn't mean that just means that you need to look elsewhere for that support.
Right. And I will end this with a poetry. As Annie said, if the doctor cannot help you and you don't understand the process, please think about magic, because when we don't understand the process, we think it's magic. It has its explanation, but if we believe in magic, we can live it. And here is one wonderful poetry by Samuel Coleridge, UK English poet, who says, "What if you slept? What if you slept? And what if in your sleep you dreamt? And what if in your dream you went to heaven, and there plucked a strange and beautiful flower? And what if, when you awoke, you had the flower in your hand? Ah, what then?" Thank you for watching. We hope that you'll get in touch with us if you need our help. I'm Maria Taneva, a wellness therapist and a herbalist, and this is
Annie Mood, the stress and wellbeing coach.
Thank you very much.